Lowetide on Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
It's the Lowdown on Sports 1440. Today's show, Oilers outage at the top of the depth chart. Will McDavid and Draisaitl score at 5-on-5 like the olden days. Plus, Jays in a Game 7 tonight. Nobody's talking about anything else. No matter what you do today, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be the subject of conversation for much of your chat. Elks are out, NFL wild weekend and more. It's all straight ahead for Wolf GMC Buick. Fall into savings with 0% financing on all 2025 Buick and GMC vehicles. We're making it easy. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com for details. As you know, we are live on YouTube and Sports 1440, also online at sports1440.ca, iHeartRadio, and Radio Player Canada. After the show, you can find us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We tweeted out on X as well, on Twitter at Lowetide, at Declan Krueger, at JFenwick04, and Sam W 1440, all straight ahead, including Rachel Krychak, CTO of Betalytics and ESPN contributor, Jason Gregor. We'll have declinations, Mamma Mia, and more. It'll be a fun show today. I have lots of math for you early. So to kind of counter that, we'll do the introductions and we'll have a little fun. First of all, his doppelganger on the Edmonton Oilers is Matt Savoy. Young, enthusiastic, skilled, but the coach won't play him in the big minutes. Most famous for announcing the McDavid deal on this show weeks before it happened. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sam Wilness. Sam Wilness, everybody.
Hello. How are we doing today?
Sam, can you hear your hair growing? Because every time I see you've got more hair.
You know, it's kind of like when you hear rhubarb grow, where it kind of like hears all the cracks and whatnot.
Yeah, I was thinking that. All right, his comparable on the Edmonton Oilers is Evan Bouchard. Wildly talented and clearly on the way to a major career in something. But sometimes his controller gets unplugged, and we wonder, is he worth the big money he's being paid? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Fenwick. Josh Fenwick, everybody.
How dare you compare me to Evan Bouchard? How dare you? I've never been more offended in my entire life. This is the one that
cuts the deepest, right?
That sucks. This is the worst intro you've ever given me.
Oh, man. Then my job is done. All right. His match on the Edmonton Oilers is Leon Draisaitl. GQ looks, real attitude, calls himself out when things aren't going well, and has some swagger. Plus, knocks people down accidentally on purpose often. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Declan Krueger. Declan Krueger, everybody.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that one.
Well, I wanted to really highlight Josh as being the big negative today.
Wait, who was Josh again?
He's the other guy that
Bouch.
I just introduced. Yeah.
Bouch, eh?
Yeah.
Tough. It's Bouch's birthday today, actually.
Oh, really? I'm sure he's having a great time but he's out of Edmonton, so it should be good. How was everybody's weekend? Did we have a fun time? I imagine sports was a big part of it.
A lot of sports, naturally, a lot going on. A lot of hockey, CFL, NFL, college, baseball, obviously. It was an unbelievable weekend to be a sports fan. Yeah. Might not have been the best weekend if you're a fan of some of the cities in this team or, obviously the Blue Jays, but they bounced back last night. Great weekend for me personally. Can never be too upset when there's all that sports on.
Well, I think if you're a Mariners fan, you are looking at the possibility of, if they win tonight, whatever happens this evening will be one of the greatest memories in the history of the team, and some franchises don't get that, Montreal Expos fans. So Mariners, if you are a Mariners fan, you have hope. Now, if you're a Jays fan, you've got hope and momentum. And Vladdy Guerrero is on absolute fire. I'm going to ask this question because I think it's important. Why would the Mariners pitch to him tonight? He's not striking out. That's what you need him to do. He's got 2 strikeouts in the postseason, 6 home runs or some damn thing. I think if you can pitch around him by walking him or have him swing at a bad pitch, you do. But I'm not giving him anything. And that'll be tough because Kirby doesn't walk anybody. But great matchup tonight. Fantastic game. Can't wait for it. We're going to talk to Rachel Kryshak about it. She's a Jays fan, but she's also an analytics expert. So can she disconnect? Can she disconnect the passion when looking at the numbers? And I don't know. We talked to Travis Yost on this show from time to time. TSN, brilliant analytics guy, but he's also a Buffalo Bills fan, and he can never speak about the Buffalo Bills in any kind of, I guess, analytical way. It always comes out like, oh, I don't know what we're doing. And I'm like, Travis, we bring you on to talk sense, but it's hard to do when you're a fan of a team. All right. Oilers have been really horror awful since the last time we talked. One of the things that people are getting mad about is the Oilers defensively. Well, the big part of the game is played at 5-on-5, and the Oilers are really playing defensively well at 5-on-5. So the numbers say. Their goals against per 60 this year is like 1.82. That's brilliant. Even their expected goals against per 60 is 228. Their save percentage, which is almost always the problem for this team, is looking pretty good. I mean, they're, for me, if you're looking at a 9-15 save percentage at 5-on-5 and you're the Edmonton Oilers, goaltending isn't your issue. Although Connor Ingram is playing really well in the minors, by the way. He had a great game for Bakersfield. We may see him here sometime in the next few months. The other thing that's not happening is scoring from the Glimmer twins, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But here's the funny part of it. Last year, after 6 games, McDavid had 1 goal and Leon had no goals. And this year, it's opposite. Leon has a goal. McDavid has not scored yet. But after 6 games a year ago at 5-on-5, do you want to hear who scored goals? Jeff Skinner had 2. Brett Kulak had 1. Adam Henrique had another. Connor Brown had a goal. Corey Perry had a goal. Evan Bouchard had a goal. I meant Corey Perry. I don't know what I said. Now, this year, it's Nuge and Noah Philp, who gets benched on the regular, who have a couple of goals. And then after that, it's Curtis Lazar. Leon has the goal. Mangiapane, Trent Frederick. And that's it. Like, they're not scoring. They've got 8 goals in 6 games at 5-on-5. But what did I just say to you a second ago? I said that after 6 games, McDavid had a goal and Leon had no goals at 5-on-5 a year ago. You know how it ended? Remember, 1-0, right? So by the end, Leon Draisaitl had 23 goals and McDavid had 15. So, and Hyman, by the way, had 19. So have some faith. It will turn around. There's no way it is impossible for McDavid and Draisaitl to run like this the whole year. Now, it would have been good if those two could have scored goals at a rate that allowed the Edmonton Oilers to win enough games to not be panicking the fan base. But they're 2-3-1, which is not a terrible record. The goals will come, and they are, and this is something that I really want to talk about today, because they are finding out about their wingers. They actually are. They're finding out about their forwards. For instance, Noah Philp is an NHL player. Look, you can continue to play anybody you want aside from Noah Philp. But Philp is an NHL player. He doesn't penalty kill. Okay. But you have to have him in the lineup. He's a big guy. He wins battles, and he scores. He's got 2 goals in 3 games. You can't take him out of the lineup. I think Mangiapane has shown that he's worth a feature role on this team. I'm not sure Trent Frederick has, and he has a goal. I don't like him as the third-line center, but I'd rather run Frederick as third line, Philp as fourth line, than run Henrique at center. I'd prefer to have Henrique on the wing. I'm also wondering a little bit about, and this is something that we've talked about in the past, I do think that at some point, Ike Howard's probably going to get sent down. I like him as a player. I think he's going to be an NHL player. But you probably are looking at giving him a little time in Bakersfield and then sussing out what's going on the fourth line. I think that probably happens in the next while. By the way, in terms of expected goals, Howard is at 34%, and Henrique is at 35%, and Savoy is at 38%. That whole line doesn't work together. You've got two guys who are flat out rookies. Savoy's played less than 10 games, and Howard's just starting out. Everybody says, well, it's the kid line. The kid line had tons of experience compared to these two cats. Send down Howard, put Savoy on a feature line, and then the fourth line could be four veterans who can all penalty, or three veterans who can all penalty kill. I think that's the way to go. It's 12:11, Lowdown with Lowetide, Sports 1440. Jays. Does anybody want to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays? They're a baseball team in the major leagues. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on them, but I would like to hear whoever wants to talk.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about specifically with the Blue Jays?
It's Evan Bouchard. Here's what I want to know. I feel like going into tonight, Bieber over Kirby, I think that's a good lineup. Like, I like the way it lines up for the Jays. They've got the better starter based on Kirby's last outing.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay.
Kirby's been getting lit up by he's got lit up by the Jays every time went up against them.
He's up and down because he was injured early in the year. He's not quite 100%.
Yeah.
But
huge for the Jays.
Do me a favor and tell me who you are confident about if they go to the bullpen in Toronto. The Blue Jays go to the bullpen.
So this is a great thing about tonight is that Kevin Gausman came right out and said after his start, I am available for the bullpen in Game 7. So the good news is they don't have to rely on Bieber going 6 innings or anything like that. If they really get in a bind or anything like that, they can pull him in the 4th or something and be like, all right, Gausman, we need 2 innings from you.
That's what Steve Rogers said in 1981. And then later that night, he gave up the home run to Rick Monday that ended the season for the Montreal Expos.
Good thing this is the Toronto Blue Jays and not the Montreal Expos.
I guess you're right.
Yeah. I don't think they've used Fluharty.
I like Fluharty. I do like Fluharty.
Fluharty's in there. Maybe he hasn't played because he doesn't match up well against the Mariners. I'm not totally sure.
I'm surprised people don't use Foolhardy and Fluharty in the same sentence more often. It would be Foolhardy, not just put Foolhardy in the lineup like that.
Yeah, you're totally right.
I'm just saying.
So I'm confident with him and Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Oh, man. Everybody steals on him. Oh, my God.
Yeah, but like
people are stealing popcorn in the stands.
If Josh
and beer
Naylor
in the
goes
stands.
for a steal, I don't think like Sir Anthony Dominguez is going to get 2 outs and then Josh Naylor's going to steal second or something. And then I don't know, Cal Raleigh will ground one out into a double play again like he did twice last night.
That was bad. He really needed not to do that. All right. Everybody's on the Jays. Text us. Tell us what you're thinking. Give us your predictions. Declan Elks, tell us a little bit about your thoughts on what was a kind of a panic season and then a strong season and then maybe a playoff season. And as it turned out, they finished just shy.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts on the season as a whole or this past game?
Well, I guess. I felt like they got close, but you felt like they just couldn't run the table, and they did not.
They kind of hit their stride late, obviously, and kind of became one of those teams like the way they knocked off Saskatchewan, who was coming off a bye, and the way they beat Winnipeg, and the way they really outplayed Hamilton and Toronto, but gave those games away. Like they kind of came in feeling like, ooh, this wouldn't want to be the team to see in the playoffs the way they're playing. Like the defense had been playing so much better. Justin Rankin, it seemed like every game was kind of putting up some absurd yards from scrimmage. And I know it's not actually true if you check the box score, but they were just a team that was really hitting their stride after starting the season 1-6. And then for them, and I know they were 2-2 in their last 4, but like the Winnipeg win was big. The Saskatchewan win was big. The way they played in Toronto and Hamilton, they should have won those games. Then they play a team in BC who's the hottest team in the CFL right now. And the fate of your playoffs obviously lie in beating a team you've beaten twice, and you go in there and you couldn't do it. As a whole for the season, listen, it's a 9-team league and 6 make the playoffs. Like you can't just say, oh, hey, it's good, we're growing. Like 67% of the teams make the playoffs. Missing it, even if things are growing, like it's great to have things grow and great to be going in the right direction, but that's not really good enough, especially for a team like Edmonton that used to be leading the league in attendance and a team that's one of the premier franchises and winningest franchises in the CFL. Like in a league where 6 teams make the playoffs, missing the playoffs every year since 2019, like that is a real problem. Now, all that said, I do revert to my first point where I think things are looking up. And I think next season, there are a lot of great foundational pieces that are going to make this team strong and a playoff contender. I'm curious what some of the different position groups are going to look like. I'm curious, is Niles going to be back playing the middle linebacker? He's only 29, but Ed Hervey doesn't really like to play linebackers, and they like playing Nick at the Mac. Like, is Cody going to be the quarterback next season? What kind of where does Ed go out and maybe invest in a true number one receiver? Like a bunch of things like that. Overall, the season had a lot you point to and you take from and you say that was good, and we're growing, and this team's probably going to be better moving forward. But overall, you still miss the playoffs in a 9-team league. You know, is what it is.
Sounds like you're kind of pissy.
Well, you asked about the team. I'm like,
no, but it sounds like you wanted more from them. And the way they started, I think they were playing catch up, and I think they did a pretty good job.
Absolutely true. You're absolutely correct. They absolutely were playing catch up, and they had a lot to overcome starting 1-6. Like, that's a big mountain.
It is.
But I think it's, listen, call me crazy. I think it's fair to want to have your team want to make the playoffs in a 9-team league.
I understand that, but from the pandemic on, Declan, this team has been a train wreck.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
Every time they walked outside, an anvil would fall on their head,
and they would shoot themselves in the foot.
Right? Yeah, it was bad. This coach, I mean, he seems to have inspired this group, and just it took a charge late. That's too bad.
The one thing I would say is that this was a new regime this time, right?
Yeah.
So there should have been probably some higher expectations compared to, the Chris Jones, G. Roy Simon, Jarius Jackson as the interim iteration of the team.
Yeah, I got it. All right, we're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk about the Oilers rumors straight ahead. We do have Rachel Krychak coming up at 12:40. At 1:20, it'll be Jason Greger. What's coming up on Declanation's Mama MMA?
Yeah, well, the UFC was in Canada this past weekend, actually. They were out in Vancouver. It was kind of a middleweight title eliminator of sorts. Like, I think a lot of people thought if Randy the Ritter had won, he would have been next in line for the title shot, or if he had won impressively. Anyway, he did not do that. He corner stoppage at the end of the 4th round to a guy who took the fight on short notice, was, I think, thought of to be well beneath him in terms of ability. It was a good fight night out in Vancouver. I'm excited to break it down.
All right, we'll talk about it at 1:40 today. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Mr. Rooter meets a ghost.
1 plunge, 2, and 3. A toilet clogged with a ghost? Man, I love plumbing. You're free now.
I will never find peace. The clog is fixed, yes, but I have never trusted the sump pump.
No problemo. Like a trick set. Now go to the light, you little scamp.
Thank you, Mr. Ruda.
To resolve your unfinished plumbing business, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
Come for Canada's largest trade shows, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. And stay for the experience at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Looking for the perfect place to host your next big event? From trade shows to galas, meetings, and concerts, the Edmonton Expo Centre has the space, event expertise, and service to make your next event unforgettable. With over 522,000 square feet of flexible event space, in-house catering, and operational expertise, they bring your biggest vision to life. Learn more at edmontonexpocenter.com today.
Seriously, another door knocker? I really want to go solar, but these high-pressure tactics are exhausting.
And their prices are skills to help you get back to it, whatever your it may be. Life shouldn't hurt. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I know a lot about how RVs work. I post videos on Facebook every week showing the weak points and how failures can occur. But even I don't winterize my own RV.
What are you saying, Rick? You don't think you could do it?
Oh, sure, Bob, I could do it, but I couldn't do it at a professional level. When you expect your RV to survive the harsh northern Alberta winter, this is no place for hobbyists. And I don't service used RVs all day, every day. Instead, I hired people smarter than me to do that sort of work. That's the team that winterizes my trailer, the same team that'll winterize yours.
Your RV service team works 12 months of the year repairing and maintaining used RVs.
That's right, Bob. If you want your RV working right in the spring, the real work happens now, in the fall. Our winterization packages start at just $99, and that includes a full report in writing. No surprises, just a great outdoors waiting for you when the last of the snow melts.
And that's No Bull. NoBullRV.ca.
Breaking down the fine art of sports, one rep at a time. The Lowdown with Lowetide. Thanks for checking out Sports 1440.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
We're delighted to have them as our sponsor for another year. I have to confess something. When I came in today, I had a pair of headphones that I believe were mine, and they had a different jack, and I could only hear out of one side of my ear. And I knew it wasn't me. I knew it was the headphone. So one ear works, one doesn't. And so I bitched and moaned and complained and did the usual, old man thing where I old man everybody, and then they have to run around and get stuff for me, which Josh did do, and I thank him. And then as it turned out, they were the guest headphones. And my headphones, which worked perfectly and nobody touched and nobody did anything to them, were sitting over there. And so I made a big fuss about nothing, like a prima donna. And as it turned out, it was all me and no one else. Now that I've reported it, I believe everybody will move along. Is that correct, Declan? I think so. All right.
Yeah, I think we're all moving onwards and upwards.
Okay, it is time for Rumors, brought to you by Great Canadian Solar. Great Canadian Solar has been helping homeowners and businesses harness the power of the sun for 15 years. Invest in solar and yourself, greatcanadiansolar.com. And yes, it's true. If anybody else on this show did that, I'd be all over them. But that's who I am. You don't be like that, kids at home. Do you have Amazon Prime for the hockey games, Declan?
I don't. My girlfriend does. I do not.
Well, Josh has it, and he says it's quite good.
Yeah,
I've not seen it yet.
I like Amazon Prime. Like Amazon Prime's a good streaming service. The problem is there's too many these days.
What are we going to do with this? Because I subscribe to all the Sportsnet channels.
Right.
And then the Milwaukee baseball game was on, you had to sign in online. Mm-hmm. So I signed in with my email address and it said, you don't qualify, even though I subscribe, I used my Rogers number and they said, no, you don't qualify. So I subscribe to all of the TV stations that are Sportsnet through my cable package. And I still don't get the game. So do I have to subscribe to Sportsnet online?
Yeah, it might be a Sportsnet Plus issue.
Okay.
I don't know what the MLB does with their like TV rights and like what that deal with Sportsnet for those specific games look like. I don't know.
I would like to just pay one flat amount and get them all if I could for MLB and NHL. And like I watch AHL games.
Right.
I don't watch basketball like you do or NFL like you do, but I watch a lot of hockey, including AHL, and I pay for that. I subscribe to it. I don't mind doing it. But I think that if I subscribe to all of the channels I should get the games that I want to watch.
Yeah, I would agree. Listen, it's expensive to be a sports fan.
It is.
They rake us over the coals a little bit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine being a sports fan like in America where they have, even more streaming services and more sports channels between like FS1, ESPN, like whatever it may be. So yeah,
I would say that I was frustrated by it until Adam Silver straightened me out about it. It's a highlight league.
Yeah, when Adam Silver told you just watch the TikToks, watch the highlights.
Oh,
that's like that would be insane for a brand ambassador of the NBA to say, let alone the commissioner.
It made no sense at all then, and it makes no sense now. It's crazy.
Because here's the if you de-incentivize long form content like that in regard to actually sitting down and watching the games, like all of a sudden the majority of games don't become impactful, and that's just such a slippery slope, I think, for a commissioner to kind of peddle.
Also, I don't watch much television. I don't watch any of the reality shows, and the reason is because
not a Real Housewives guy.
No. The reason is the ultimate reality show is a sporting event. A sporting event is not scripted. Don't talk to me about wrestling. I'm not going to go there. A sporting event, you don't know who's going to, like tonight, we don't know who's going to win. That's what makes it exciting. The Mariners and the Blue Jays are all going through their day and they're eating their guacamole and their cocoa and whatever else the hell they eat. And they're nervous and they're rumbling and the tumbling and everything's exciting and we're excited about it, but nobody knows the outcome. Nobody knows the outcome. And that's what makes sports brilliant. It just does.
I couldn't imagine not being a sport. I couldn't imagine not just watching sports like any chance I have.
I turned Karen into a hockey fan and
hey, there you go.
Oilers fan. And now she's not happy about it though, because then they lose. She gets, it's not enjoyable for her.
What, let me ask you this. What was kind of, where did her allegiance or her fandom lie beforehand?
She read a lot of books. She's smart. She's one of those smart people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to be one.
Yeah, me too.
Love to meet one even.
I've never understood picking up a book, starting at page 1 and then reading the whole thing.
So she didn't watch sports like at all? Or did she have like a little vested interest in hometown teams?
When I questioned her about the Oilers, she would have vague memories of the 80s, like her mom and her dad are sports fans, but it's not something that she's really big on.
Okay. Yeah, listen, not for everyone.
No, but now I've turned her into a sports fan and she's not delighted by the feeling that she gets from sports. But I think when they win, she'll be happy.
Yeah, whenever that may be.
Well, in our lifetime would be nice.
Oh, you're talking about a Stanley Cup?
Well, or
I was just talking about a game. How about that?
You know what? It does feel like that, but they're only 2-3-1.
No, I know.
And Oiler fans should take heart. There are some good things happening.
They always start a little smelly in October. My problem is, there seemed to be anyway, a real emphasis from Connor and Leon of coming out, Connor especially, of coming out and starting this season hot. And listen, it's not lost on me. They just played the 2 longest seasons possible and had their hearts crushed and walked away without the ultimate goal. Yeah. Like mentally, that's a lot. That takes a toll on you, especially for a guy like Connor McDavid. And they always have slow Octobers. I'm sure it's fine. But listen, it's tough to get up for a random Sunday game in October in Detroit or a Saturday game in October in New Jersey, but those games do add up, and all of a sudden that's why you're sitting there without a division title again or without home ice in the playoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean a division title I think is I know that some people think that's a big deal, but I just don't. I don't care about that. I
don't think the team really cares about that. No. I think it's more of a talking point. I think the team is just kind of it's about Stanley for them.
Right. I care that they're in the Stanley Cup window to win, and they are. So that's the key there. By the way, the Oilers have activated Jake Wallman from IR. He is expected to make his season debut in Ottawa tomorrow. That probably means Stetcher comes out of the lineup. And Alec Regula has been placed on IR. I wrote about this in The Athletic the other day, by the way, that I thought that the move would be they're not going to waive Troy Stetcher unless they absolutely have to. The move would be put somebody on IR. And then the next move, I think, would probably be to send down Ike Howard. Why would you lose a player when you don't want to lose anybody?
Well, they got to send Ike down, unfortunately.
Yeah,
$9.45 a night.
Yeah.
And that's one game as well, kind of lifting that number a little bit. A number that's not even above 10 minutes.
It's true. So. One thing that I did want to point out from that game yesterday, Emmett Finney scored. Finney was drafted in 2023 by the Red Wings, like in the 7th round. out of Kamloops in the Western Hockey League. And he has played 6 games in the NHL so far this season, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. And look, he's 6'1", 195. He can do some things. And he was a 7th round pick. So Red Wings got one here. And I don't know how much he's going to score. I don't know if he's going to put up, the big numbers, but he only played 10 AHL games last year after his junior career ended. He had 5 points. It didn't look like much. He did score well in the final 2 years of his junior career. But, man, he fits like a glove in the NHL right now. I have a question for you about the NFL. The NFL news on Monday is all over the place. And often it's, he's not going to, he may not live. And then the quarterback ends up starting on Thursday. So I want to ask you about some teams. All right. Let me list them off and then I'm going to ask you the question.
Okay.
Patriots 5-2. Colts 6-1. Broncos 5-2. Eagles 5-2. Packers 4-1-1. Buccaneers 5-1-1. 49ers and Rams 5-2. In the words of my friend Dennis King, how many of those teams are real?
I mean, listen, to this point in the season, I would say all of them. The one that I would hold out on would be the Broncos.
Because they're winning weird at the end?
Kind of, but I'm not even out on them. I'm just saying, like, if I had to pick one, it would be them because, like, they're winning games. I think they're winning a lot of games on, like, they find ways to win, and that's what it's about. Did you list the Steelers in there as well?
I didn't list the Bills.
At 4-2,
and I did list. No, I didn't list the Steelers. I'm sorry.
Because I would say that would be another team. Like the fact that they lost to that Bengals team, albeit divisional opponent, primetime spot, not the end of the world. But that would be another one where I would maybe kind of give pause. Listen, I think every team you mentioned is for real to some degree, but there's also being real based on certain expectations of what you came into the season with, what your personnel is. Like it can be graded on a curve.
Right.
But I don't look at any of the teams you just mentioned and say, I think that team is going to have an inevitable collapse at some point, unless I'm forgetting one of the teams you mentioned. But.
Okay. The other question I have for you with the NFL is we laughed, we mocked, Josh giggled until he could barely breathe about Joe Flacco. What's going on in Cincinnati?
Well, I mean, it was kind of one game he exploded for. It was the Thursday nighter.
It was the Joe Flacco effect. He comes in, he brings in some life. He's going to get sacked on. Maybe not Sunday. I don't think they play. I could be wrong though. I don't know their schedule by heart. But he's going to get sacked one of these days, and his career will be over.
They play the Jets next week, so
never mind, guys. Joe Flacco
4 touchdowns.
Joe Flacco is throwing for 600 yards and 7 touchdowns.
The one thing we can say is the Jets are not real, right? Like, who's worse? Like, who should look at the draft closer, the Jets or the Dolphins?
I think the Dolphins were looking at the draft going into the season, quite frankly.
I think it should be the Dolphins, just because the Jets, like the Dolphins, this is the thing. The Jets aren't good, and they're not totally like in a rebuilding phase. Like there were expectations with the defense. They gave Justin Fields a lot of money, but they have a few young pieces you can point to and say, okay, there's maybe at least a bit of a stable there moving forward. Now it is finite.
Sauce.
It is finite. Sauce would be one. Garrett Wilson would be another. With Miami, the way they played 3 years ago, like they thought they had a roster they could compete with, and now it's turning out that they don't. And there's probably a quarterback issue there. So they probably need to be the team to look to the draft and say, we got to start this thing from scratch. Another reason for that is like Aaron Glenn. I don't know what Aaron Glenn's going to be like as a coach. It's probably not going to be great. If we're just playing the statistics game, he's probably going to get fired in a couple of years. But
in
he
a couple
has
years.
Yeah, like 2 years, 3 years. But he had maybe end of this season.
It might be the end of this season.
But I'm saying I think he probably has a longer leash than what Mike McDaniel has right now. And I think that's another reason the Dolphins are.
Did Aaron Glenn coach a team that scored 70 points 3 years ago, or was it Mike McDaniel?
It was Mike McDaniel. But you know what? It was 3 years ago.
Yeah, as much as I'll jump on Miami's defense though, and like the quarterback issue now, when they were rolling, it wasn't an issue. Is that the O-line didn't block for him, and he got injured a bunch. But the team was firing on all cylinders before that because he was able to run the offense that Mike McDaniel wanted to run the whole way through, and then he gets concussed 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
and we all think that his career is like over.
I wanted him to retire.
And then he still comes back. And now we're like, oh, Tua, you suck. I'm like, yeah, well, his brain is fried.
Yeah,
for sure. But I mean, that like you got to factor that in. Like,
yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, in the defense, they did have a roster.
All right,
2 years ago.
12:37 on the way. We're going to be talking to Rachel Krychak. We're going to talk about the Jays. Also going to talk what's going on with the Edmonton Oilers and a few things weird happening out east. That's all straight ahead. Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Monopoly Double Play is back at McDonald's. So let's practice winning. You just won 25 grand. And go.
Yes.
I said 25 grand.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Much better. Okay, now you just won a brand new Chevrolet Corvette. I think she just fainted. Impressive. Feel like a winner on pack and in-app. Monopoly Double Play is back. While supplies last, 1 in 5 chances to win game piece prizes at outset. Chances to win draw prizes depend on number of entries in each draw. Cash prizes payable by e-transfer. See rules in-app.
The madness continues at the Brick. Get your home ready to host. Save up to $1,200 on made in Canada sofas and sectionals, up to 30% off coffee tables and nightstands, and up to 25% off bedroom and dining. Buy more, save more, up to $1,000 off appliances. Hockey season is here, and so are big savings on big screen TVs. Save up to $800, plus get free local delivery on screens over 50 inches. The Brick, saving you more.
Edmonton's only 24-hour-a-day sports radio station. Can be heard anytime, anywhere. Sports 1440 is streaming on your phone, your tablet, your computer. Download an app today and listen to Sports 1440.
Japa Machinery Group knows that XCMG may not roll off the tongue, but Japa's team will help keep your construction jobs rolling on time and on budget with heavy equipment sales and rentals. Visit japamachinery.com to find out more.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League's fourth season is now underway. The JPHL offers elite athletic and academic opportunities for players in the 14U, 15U, 17U, and 18U divisions. All games are broadcast live on Silent Ice TV, featuring a showcase-style schedule and competitive matchups across Western Canada. Players work with experienced coaches, trainers, and elite hockey personnel. Learn more about Western Canada's fastest-growing elite hockey development stream at juniorprospectshockeyleague.com.
Prostate cancer affects 1 in 6 men in Alberta, and this November we're fighting back. Every dollar raised fuels early detection and life-saving support. Donate today for the men in our province. Visit keepitinalberta.ca to start your fundraiser or donate today.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Author, musical connoisseur, sports know-it-all. Yes, a man for all seasons.
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
Sports 1440 for Wolf GMC Buick. Fall into savings with 0% financing on all 2025 Buick and GMC vehicles. We're making it easy. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com for details. Nice weekend we had. It was cool this morning. Took Ziggy out early on, and it was freezing. But look, I think it's going to be a pretty good day. We are heading towards winter. Snow is coming. Winter is coming. Joined now by Rachel Krychak, CTO of Betalytics, and contributes a lot of very important things for ESPN. Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing well. A little nervous for Game 7 tonight, but excited nonetheless. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question for you. I mentioned earlier about my friend Travis Yost, who's an analytics guy and does brilliant work, but also a Buffalo Bills fan. And so you're an analytics person, and you I know you can look at things without emotion. You can just look at the numbers and say, this is the way it is. And Yost can do that too, except when it comes to the Bills. His brain kind of goes walkabout. So are you able to look at game 7 tonight rationally and pick a winner, or are you like the rest of us and just a bundle of nerves?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I look at the numbers and the matchup and speak to people who are probably more knowledgeable about baseball than me in terms of, okay, if the Jays are in this situation, what they need to do to be successful versus like if they're in a different situation, what can't they do? What do they need to avoid? Like, I can look at it and say that Seattle's kind of an all or nothing offense. Like, they don't get the types of hits that the Jays do where you can kind of just start the train and get momentum and guys just consistently are getting on base, hitting singles, hitting doubles, whatever the case may be. They're kind of a home run or nothing team if you look at the Cal Raleigh, Eugenio Suarez kind of situations. And the Jays were pretty unlucky in games 1 and 2 in terms of they had the majority of the hard hit balls, but they happened to just be right at Seattle players. So I look at it and I mean, Toronto's a better baseball team, and they're playing a more sustainable style of baseball, but it's one game. Anything can happen. And then that's where you need to have trust that your manager is not going to do things like bring Brendan Little into the game when there is an opportunity for disaster to occur. So hopefully the Jays management staff has learned some lessons and we do not see some ugly decisions tonight.
Well, the one thing I would do if I were Seattle is I'd walk Guerrero. He's not striking out. He is hitting home runs. He's on the ball. It must be a balloon for him when he sees it. And a slugger like that can ruin your night in a heartbeat. And I honestly, I would walk Guerrero. I'd pitch around him. And if he ends up not swinging at bad pitches, I'd walk him. Would you do that kind of thing?
Yeah, in a one game situation, I think you don't, obviously if there's 2 men on or the bases are loaded, like you can't pitch around him. You have to pitch to him at that point. But generally, like if he comes up with a man on, like I'm not throwing him a fastball. Like you're getting off speed. And George Kirby is a very good pitcher. Like we can't discount that, but he's certainly not someone where I'm gonna go look at my pitcher and go, yeah, just go head to head and let's see whose stuff is the best. That's not really in the same way the Jays with Cal Raleigh. Like don't do that.
It'll bite you. All right, let's talk Oilers. They're struggling. The most baffling thing is the 5-on-5 scoring from McDavid and Draisaitl. I thought they had some bad ice in New York State, but they're also playing a lot. They are getting older, or is this just a curious thing and regression is just around the corner?
I think it's a couple different things. So yeah, like you, and I had to run this by my husband to be sure that what I was seeing was correct. The ice was pretty bad in the general New York area. Pucks were bouncing. There was just nothing was really, when you're a skill player to that extent, you kind of rely on the fact that the ice isn't going to be a flaming dog pile. And those are some buildings where it's not always great. I mean, that's to be expected to a degree. I guess there's really no excuse for it in New Jersey where there's nothing but hockey being played right now. But then when you look at it, like Connor McDavid is at 5-on-5, he's -1 in terms of goal differential, but the expected goals, he is a delta of 3. Like it should be +2, if not +2.5. His shooting percentage is 0. That's obviously not going to be, that's not going to continue. I would say there's definitely some regression coming, and it might come in a very ridiculous way. We might have ourselves a situation where the guy has 2-goal games for 4 straight games or something of that nature. I think this is kind of one of the things where there's a slow start, and it's not necessarily only them, but they do kind of look a little more nonchalant. And I'm not saying that to a fault. I can't really blame them because I think that they've started to figure out that as long as we get into the playoffs, it's pretty difficult for anybody to beat us right now. So we just have to get there and off we go. It's kind of what Tampa Bay was doing while they were winning their cups is, hey, let's just get there and then we turn it on and that'll be enough. It's exactly what Florida did last year. It's what they're going to have to do this year with all their injuries. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they need to be a little bit more on it to a degree, but from a possession perspective, they're not losing that battle. So it's not like they're getting outplayed by any stretch of the imagination. The Bucks just aren't going in yet. Obviously, you expect more, but I mean, given the generosity of one Connor McDavid, I don't think anybody's in a position to be opening their mouth criticizing him right now.
That's fair. Rachel Dory, our guest, CTO of Analytics and contributor for ESPN. Many coaches over the years, you're talking about the playoffs, and this is something that would be, if it's solved by the playoffs, it would be fabulous. Over the years, have tried to find a partner for Darnell Nurse that can, ad-lib and play with him. He's not a shutdown, and he's not a puck mover per se, although he does a lot of different things. Coaches are constantly looking for a new partner for him, and this has gone on for a long time. And I just wonder if Jake Wallman's being activated today. He's probably going to play the right side tomorrow, even though he's left-handed. Do they have to find a partner that works consistently with him, or if not, do they have to fade him to the third pair?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best answer there. The last solution that you brought up. The thing about Darnell Nurse is he's not a bad defenseman by any stretch of the imagination. He certainly brings value. And like you mentioned, he can be physical. He can score. He can skate with the best of them. But the problem that you have is his play style is so all over the place that there's no defenseman that is going to be an apt partner for him just because he is wildly unpredictable. The reason why defense partners work so well together is they can play off each other. They know what each other is going to do. And with Darnell Nurse, it's just it's kind of a guessing game a lot of the time. And so what I think the Oilers almost need to do is, okay, we've done this experiment of trying to find a defenseman on our team, on other teams, via trade, via free agency, to play with this guy, and nobody can play with him. At some point, we have to accept that a mistake was made in terms of the money that we gave him, and he probably does need to play on the third pair, or at the very least, he needs to play in sheltered minutes, because you can't have that level of unpredictability in your top four. And so you either get him to settle down, which doesn't seem like they've had any success doing, or he's just got to play less and in a more sheltered role, and it's tough to swallow. And a guy is making the salary that he is making, but until a guy learns to kind of play within himself to the point where you can trust him to play with somebody else, you just can't do that.
Well, that dovetails nicely into our Evan Bouchard conversation for the week. His controller unplugged phase is ongoing right now. Is there anything like in the when I see the analytics from 10,000 feet, the numbers with Ekholm at 5-on-5 look really good, and these are single events. And you can talk benching him, but that seems crazy. And fading him to the second pair, there's nobody else. Do you just have to take your lumps when it comes to Evan Bouchard and wait for him to kind of find his confidence again?
Oh, this is a tough one, because it would be one thing if we were talking about a 21-year-old defenseman. We're not. We're talking about somebody who is in the conversation and quickly removing himself, if I might add, for the Canadian Olympic team. Because I don't think anyone can look anybody else straight in the face and say this guy deserves to be on the team right now with the way that he is playing. And the thing is it's not like he's Zane Parekh in Calgary, where he's tremendously gifted offensively. Things aren't happening for him. And he's just making young mistakes on the other side of the puck. These aren't young mistakes Evan Bouchard is making. They're effort mistakes. They are switched off mistakes. And when you are as good at the position as Evan Bouchard is, that kind of play is unacceptable. And you just can't have that many situations where it legitimately looks like you stop playing. And so the Oilers are early enough in the season where, number one, it's not like their power play has been any level of elite at the Minnesota Wild, let's say, where you couldn't sit them down for a game and say, you know what, you probably need a bit of a reset. grab a seat, chill out, and you know what? Maybe Jake Wallman goes up and plays that top power play unit for a night. Maybe you run 5 forwards. I don't know what you do, but I think we're rapidly approaching the point where it's at the beginning of the season where you can still send a message. You don't have to do it against a divisional rival, and you just say, this is unacceptable. We understand if you're making mistakes because you're trying to do things. Like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have, I believe it's like 4 or 5 defensive zone giveaways each. And obviously that's not ideal, but it isn't because they aren't trying and going control and unplug. It's because they're trying to make plays. That play, I don't even know if you want to call it a play, but whatever happened in the game against the Islanders was so radically unacceptable. I was just like, what did I just watch? I thought my television froze. And so I think that's the difference there is Evan Bouchard's mistakes aren't mistakes where he's trying to make a play. They just look like he isn't engaged. And that is a problem. So yes, it's a confidence thing, but I do think that sitting him down might not be the worst idea.
Okay, final one. I always check the standings after 5 or 6 games. I just want to see, because it's a big league and sometimes you miss things as you're following along at home. The top teams in the Atlantic Division are Detroit, Montreal, and Toronto. So what year is this, Rachel? And are these teams really that good, or is this just an anomaly?
What year is it? I can't even remember the last time
it's
that
80s.
Toronto, Montreal, like it would have been prior. It honestly might be pre-salary cap.
Yeah. I think so.
Like that's where we're at here, which is rapidly approaching the year that I was born and cannot remember how good hockey teams were. So that's not ideal. But are they real? Well, the Leafs are up there and not playing particularly well. They had to have a come to Jesus between some of their most highly paid players for some of the effort that's been going on. Now, are the Leafs a very good hockey team? Yeah, I think we know that. I think Detroit is getting very lucky right now. Very lucky. They have 2 wins against Toronto and deserved maybe half of those wins. So I would say that they're kind of on borrowed time a little bit. Their ability to win like the overtime shootout games is also not gone unnoticed. Montreal is vastly improved. I think Montreal is going to make the playoffs this year. I think that Ottawa is probably, the Brady Tkachuk injury is of significance, but I think Ottawa, generally speaking, is a little bit more sound. So for me in the Atlantic, you have Toronto. Tampa Bay is, you can't ignore Tampa Bay. I think they're getting a little bit unlucky right now. Florida is just hurt, but we all know the moment that Barkov and Tkachuk are back, that they're right at the top of the Atlantic to begin with. So I would say Detroit and Montreal are probably not as good as their standings would have them say. And I would say Ottawa and Tampa and Toronto are probably within their range, but with room to improve. And then Florida's just kind of they're in trouble in terms of injuries, but with the way they play, they're going to be fine.
Is Hubby supportive of the Jays' efforts, or is he still thinking about the Yankees' loss?
He's not a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, but for my sake, he's going with it because he knows that last year when the Yankees were in the World Series, the same thing applied. So he certainly doesn't, put it this way, he said, I certainly don't want to watch the Mariners in the World Series.
There you go.
So that's where we're at.
All right.
It's tough, right? He's used to winning all the time.
He's also a smart man. Thanks, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
There you go. Rachel Krychak. Every Monday at 12:40, we don't usually talk baseball, but the nation is talking baseball today. And it is Canada's team. It hurts me to say that, but they are. Not the Mariners, not the Expos, the Jays. And they got a chance to go to the World Series, and then everybody will be cheering for them because nobody's cheering for the Dodgers. Okay. Coming up in hour number 2, Jason Gregor will join us. We'll talk about the Oilers, the Elks, the Jays, and more. NFL weekend straight ahead. And of course, Declination's Mama MMA coming up at 1:40. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube. Time for an update with Declan Krueger.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Custom Floors Inc. Floors done right for homes or businesses. Visit the new showroom at 115-771 49th Street. That's 115-771 49th Street. Or see them at the Fall Home Show coming up October. Custom Floors Inc. In the baseball world, Game 7 of the ALCS going on today. Mariners and Jays, 6:10 first pitch for that one out in Toronto. It's going to be Bieber and Kirby on the mound for the clubs. In the NHL today, there are just 5 games. Minnesota and New York, Seattle and Philly, Buffalo and Montreal, Winnipeg and Calgary, and Carolina at Vegas. The first game's dropping the puck at 5. 2 games in Monday Night Football tonight, Tampa Bay and Detroit at 5 p.m., and then Houston in Seattle at 8. And in the sporting world, CFL news is Jason Moss and Danny Machocha have been extended for 2 years by the Montreal Alouettes, and Christian Brown has signed a 5-year, $125 million contract extension with the Denver Nuggets. I'm Declan Krueger. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray radio station. CHJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Edmonton Elk Spooktacular is back, presented by Goodwill. October 24th versus the Calgary Stampeders, featuring pumpkin carving contest and more. Plus, we're collecting donations supporting Edmonton Women's Shelter Win House. Tickets at goelks.com.
I'm Gene Principe for Legacy Heating and Cooling. If you need a furnace this Halloween, it'd be a grave mistake not to
call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Need repair? Revampire your furnace. Just
call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Legacy has a skeleton of furnaces in stock.
Call Legacy. Call Legacy.
Plus, no interest and no principal payments for 1 year when you buy with Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Edmonton's home for sports is Sports 1440. After every game this season, tune in to Andrew Walker for the post-game show. Let's talk some hockey. Let's talk about the game on Sports 1440.
Planning your next event? Let Loca Quality Market cater. From made-to-order meals to gourmet platters to full chef tasting experiences, they make entertaining effortless. Visit loca.ca to start planning today.
Looking at the Alberta weather forecast, wild, unpredictable, brutally tough.
When the weather turns tough, Titan Supply doesn't back down. Titan Supply has been protecting workers from conditions like this for 50 years. We stand tall with you against the elements with the industry's best rigging, hauling, and lifting products to get you home safe. Tire chains, wire rope, round slings, chain slings, and a whole lot more. Titan Supply in Edmonton, Grand Prairie, Red Deer, and Calgary. Online at titansupply.ca. Lift, dig, haul.
Measles is very dangerous during pregnancy, increasing the risk of many severe health-related complications. If you're planning to become pregnant, make sure you have received 2 doses of the vaccine at least 1 month before conception. Don't get measles, get immunized. Visit alberta.ca/measles to find out if you're up to date and what to do if you're not. A message from the Government of Alberta.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit sports encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. wolfgmcbuick.com.
Playing the Michael Jackson today. Like that. Very good. for Wolf GMC Buick. Fall into savings with 0% financing on all 2025 Buick and GMC vehicles. We're making it easy. Visit wolfgmcbuick.com for details. Northside Adam. Hey, boys. I asked my wife if she wanted to watch the Game 7 tonight with me, and she said not particularly. So I drew up divorce papers. Just kidding. But who doesn't want to watch the game? What? Well, I mean, I don't know. You know, some people find baseball boring. And I've talked to, like, both genders, both sexes about it, and some just don't think it's that interesting. I do, but you know, most of the Oilers team doesn't look engaged right now from Rob. I think they're trying. I think teams always try, but you know, it's a road trip and the ice was terrible, and you know, there's a little bit of luck involved too. Now, the expected goals against at 5-on-5 is pristine, and their goaltending's not bad. Once the 5-on-5 starts happening, I think they'll be. And remember, they're 2-3-1. It's not like they're 0-6. You know, I mean, I have a little bit of patience for this team. They are, you know, they played a lot of hockey aside from the regular season the last 2 years, and that does catch up to you. Ontario Mom says Rachel absolutely nailed it with Nurse. At some point, you've got to call it, and he's a third pairing defenseman on any championship caliber team. Ontario Moms. He had a really good regular season last year. I didn't like his playoff as much as his regular season, and this year he's not alone. Ekholm has struggled. Bouchard has struggled. I thought Kulak has played, and last night they elevated the Kulak-Emerson pairing. They played more than the Nurse Stetcher pairing, and I think that is an indicator that you're going to see. I think you're going to see Stetcher out and Jake Wallman in.
Remember preseason when we were kind of just saying like, let Kulak walk, like, who cares? Like how that was kind of the discourse. And now a very small sample size, but he's probably been one of the better, or one of the less error-induced defensemen to start the season. I always liked Brett Kulak. I always thought he was like an ideal 5th, 6th pairing.
Yeah, I
defenseman.
agree with that. He can skate so well.
No, he's the perfect 5th or 6th defenseman. But because he's a 5th or 6th defenseman, he's maybe, rightfully so viewed as a little expendable. And that was some of the discourse when it came time for the contract to be up. And lo and behold, he's been out there and he's been one of the better defensemen, especially at 5-on-5 with this club.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle it here as the year rolls along. I think they should just roll 4 defensemen, 4 lines until McDavid and Draisaitl and Bush decide to show up and take over games. Until then, 18 minutes a night max from Nick M. Well, you make a good point. The problem is coaches coach to win every game. Like the competitive coaches are like, they don't like to lose the anthem, and so they're trying to win every game, and they're trying to, one of the things that I would suggest they do, and they're not calling me, and that's wise of them, is as much as you want to have McDavid and Draisaitl on the penalty kill because they really help there, they're playing a lot. Like they're playing, I don't think they can play this number of minutes per game over an entire year, especially considering they played so much hockey the last 2 years. So, I mean, I would probably, in a lot of ways, what you say, I kind of agree with, in that I don't think they can play them 18 minutes a night, but I would back them off, like, from what they're doing now, because they played a lot of hockey, just regular season times 2, and then long postseasons times 2. It's a lot. I'm just looking up right now via Natural Stat Trick at the time on ice totals, the number one time on ice totals for forwards, and they're right up there. They both are. You were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, like, all this time on ice, the other thing, and again, it's early, it's tough to get it. Like, I get all that, but it's not exactly working. Like, it's not like all that time on ice is exactly leading to the desired results. And this is what's maybe more concerning about that. Like, the nuclear option of McDavid and Draisaitl together That hasn't been working.
No, it hasn't. Although the underlying of the shot share and the expected goal shares are great, they're just not potting goals. And that happened last year. They didn't pot goals early through the first 6 games. Right now, Leon has 1 5-on-5 goal, McDavid none. Last year, after 6, McDavid had 1, Leon had none. And by the way, across the NHL among forwards, number 1 in time on ice per game, all minutes. That's a combination of even strength, power play, penalty kill. 23-32 for McDavid and 22-53 for Draisaitl. They are number 1 and number 2 in the National Hockey League after playing a ton of hockey over the last 2 years, far more than Matt Boldy, who is number 3, or your friend Kirill Kaprizov. How many Russian players don't you like in the National Hockey League? You got a thing for Russians, I think.
I mean, I don't like Panarin. I don't champion too many Russian guys.
It's that Tampa Bay guy.
It's just Cooch. Yeah. And I just think he was now listen, I also had this take coming into the season. I think this season we were going to really see him fall off and regress. And to this point, it's looked like it to a degree. Like, he's still a good player. He'll still get some points here and there. But this was the season I thought he was really going to woefully fall off. But overall, yeah, no, I just think he's a really good underrated player.
Yeah.
Who doesn't get talked about.
There's no doubt he is. He has not won the awards that he should, although that is changing recently. Stats mean nothing when you can't come back and back it up with wins from Greater Man J. But they are indicators. You know, if you're losing games, but you're out shooting the opposition, you're out chancing the opposition. Right now, for me, the breaking news, and we're not talking about it because the Oilers are 2-3-1, is their goals against per 60 at 5-on-5, their save percentage at 5-on-5, and their expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5 are all really good. This team is playing well defensively. I know you are going to talk to me about mistakes that were made. I understand that, but there is positives, but people have a hard time thinking about positives after the weekend you just saw, and I totally understand that. It's hard to get excited about the Edmonton Oilers when they're losing games on the road like they are. But they are playing well defensively, better than they have. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I didn't realize you weren't finished yet. I just wanted to, like, to Greater Man Jay's point, to your point as well, like, the indicators are there that the trends will reverse, and because of, some of the numbers you outlined, things will be fine. And I think we all agree that's what's going to happen. But to Greater Man Jay's point, those stats don't mean anything if they don't back it up with wins. Like, that is true. Now, I think they will start to back it up with wins, and I think those trends that you mentioned will lead to wins, and, bounces will go their way, pucks will go in the net as they should, and as things kind of normalize. But at the core of the point, he's got it. That it don't mean a thing without the wins.
Well, one thing that does mean something is they are finding out about players like Roslovic and Savoy, and Ike Howard, who I thought Howard and Savoy played pretty well on the weekend. I don't think it's going to help Howard. I think he's going to go to Bakersfield. But I think it'll be Hyman activated and Howard to the minor leagues whenever that occurs. The other thing that I was going to talk about today, and you don't know what's in the room. You don't know whether, Noah Philp got in trouble for coming to the aid of a teammate in the Vancouver game. You don't know why he was scratched, but I don't see how you bring him out of the lineup. I just don't. I would rather run Nuge as third line center, Philp as fourth line center, and Henrique on the wing. Gregor mentioned this before the season started. I like Adam Henrique as a player. I think it's asking too much of him to go out there on the fourth line with 2 rookies who have very little NHL experience, and you're asking them to outshoot, outscore, and that's a really tough assignment for Adam Henrique at age 35. He's still an NHL player, no doubt about it, but that's a tough row to hoe. And again, people keep mentioning the kid line, and I will tell you the kid line had 2 guys on that line who played quite a bit of hockey by the time the kid line hit the spring of 1990. You need Perry and Kane back. Who else is going to go into the blue paint? From Sam. Noah Philp. This is a team that isn't yet the sum of its parts. Unlike every year you've seen recently where everybody was old and you just wanted to get them healthy to the postseason, There's going to be development from this team. Matt Savoy is already showing you that he's going to get better. Ike Howard is showing you that he's going to get better. I just don't know if it's going to be in the NHL. Noah Philp, I think, has earned one of the 12 spots in the lineup. That's my opinion. But hell, boys, he's gotten 3 games and 2 goals in those games. I'd play him quite a bit. And I think that it's a great opportunity because it means somebody's going to have to sit who's good. And you need to have Jack Roslovic in the lineup. So who you taking out? Well, it's probably Ike Howard. And Lazar played well. I mean, he scored a hell of a goal. And I like Tomasic, but he sat yesterday. So it's a good problem to have. It just, when they're losing, it doesn't feel like anything's working. And that really is not the case.
You kind of brought up the 2 questions I was going to ask you. Like, how many games does Noah Philp play for the rest of the season up on the? And I agree. Like, I think he's played well 5-on-5. He's played well every time he's been in the lineup. Like, I've really liked his game, and I liked Lazar's game as well. Although I think Lazar will be a bit more of a press box staple. But if you had to put a number on how many games Noah Philp has here, I mean, maybe if you want to qualify it post trade deadline, like what do you? Well, I don't see any reason to not have him on the ice.
It's a coach's decision, and here's the problem. And like, I'm not blaming the coach. He doesn't kill penalties. They don't have him on the PK. So they either have to get him on the PK and play him the rest of the season. And then if that's the answer, I'd say 70, or they're going to have to use him as a part-time guy. And then he'll play 40 to 45, maybe 50. If he's not penalty killing, then that takes him out of a lot of the game that they need the 4th line center to be in. They might be bringing him along slowly. I'm not sure. I know they like Savoy in that situation. Not exactly sure where they'll be going. Is Frederick hurt from Greater Man J? I think he's not 100% based on what I saw when he was in Boston, but I also think that I don't think he's necessarily a 3rd line center. I think he'd be a better left winger. If I were king of the world, I would have McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, Philp as my 4 centers. And then everybody else can argue about where the wingers go. But I would put Hyman on the top line. I would put Matt Savoy on the 2nd line. That's just me. Probably Frederick on right wing on the 3rd line. And the 4th line, you can fight it out. Kapanen or whomever. And on the left side, well, I like Mangiapane a lot with McDavid. I know it hasn't worked tremendously well so far, but I like it. And I like Podkolzin with Draisaitl. I really like him.
I would still love a Pods dry Frederick line.
Yep. Yeah.
But then I don't know who your 3rd line right winger would be playing with Nuge. Because in that case, Savoy wouldn't be on the 2nd line. I assume he's not 1st line left winger.
So he could play with Nuge maybe, but they need a bigger winger.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's such a free picking line.
Draisaitl, McDavid, Podkolzin last night, 554 at 5-on-5, 4-2 shots, 1-0 goals, 64% expected goals. They played well. By the way, Mangiapane, McDavid, Draisaitl did too. When you're McDavid, Draisaitl'ing, except for goals this year, for some reason they've only got 1 for and 1 against.
Well, that's kind of a big one.
It is, but their underlying numbers are good. I think this is regression as it was a year ago. But it's hard, you're staring at it and you're like, okay, but when is it going to work? I think all of us felt it was going to work after the start of the road trip. We were like, my God, they got out of New York with a win. And then they go and they play the Islanders and they play poorly and they lose, but they could have won that game. Bouchard's gaff really hurt them. Then they go to New Jersey and New Jersey just blew the doors off them. They're so fast. And then I thought, I think we all thought, they get to Detroit, but no. Detroit's a better team, obviously, than they were a year ago. But the Oilers are good, too. Okay, we're going to talk to Jason Gregor on the way next, and then Mama MMA on Declinations at 1:40. This is the Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Whether you're a craft beer connoisseur or more of a wine aficionado, there's always something new to discover at Sherbrooke Liquor, a unique family-owned independent liquor store. The selection, incredible. The non-alcohol section is also very impressive. Sherbrooke Liquor, expert, knowledgeable staff with a passion for unique finds. More than just a liquor store, we're a community. Alberta's best, the one and only Sherbrooke Liquor. wine, spirits, and oodles of beer. Visit SherbrookeLiquor.com.
Wing Wednesday at First Round. Whether you're coming for the first round, the last round, or a few rounds in between, they've got you covered with half-price wings every Wednesday night. Half-price wings. Over 35 delicious flavors like Cajun salt and pepper, maple bacon, and Inferno wings. Now half price every Wednesday night. Wash them down with a cold pint of Canadian or Coors Light for only $5.75. Half price Wing Wednesdays at First Round in West End and now downtown. First Round, burgers, beer, sports.
Want sports talk on the go?
You can listen to 1440 on the AM dial or stream us on your mobile device through apps like Radio Player, iHeart, and Stingray Music.
Edmonton sports fans,
turn to Sports 1440.
1440.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Stradlin. How would you like to join me and the superstars of hockey on an exotic holiday? Join us on a 7-night cruise through the Mexican Riviera, leaving from Los Angeles and including Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and more. While we relax and cruise the tropical waters, you can attend an intimate meet and greet with legends like Bill Ranford, Fernando Pisani, Kelly Buckberger, Ron Lowe, Gene Principe, Jack Michaels, Louis DeBrusque, and more. There's still time to get in on every hockey fan's dream cruise. Book now and save $500 per couple. The Edmonton Hockey Legends Cruise. Price started at just $23.99. Part of the proceeds support the Ben Stelter Foundation and Kids with Cancer.
Visit cast.tours/Edmonton. Call 1-833-347-7678. Call now to book and save $500 per cabin when you mention promo code Stingray Radio. That's cast.tours, 1-833-347-7678.
The madness continues at the Brick. Get your home ready to host. Save up to $1,200 on Made in Canada sofas and sectionals, up to 30% off coffee tables and nightstands, and up to 25% off bedroom and dining. Buy more, save more, up to $1,000 off appliances. Hockey season is here, and so are big savings on big screen TVs. Save up to $800, plus get free local delivery on screens over 50 inches. The Brick, saving you more.
It's a new season, Edmonton. Which means it's time for new offers. Play Alberta is offering odds boosts on every Oilers game all season long. This is your chance to score big. And for a limited time only, our listeners can get an exclusive $50 free bet when they deposit $50 using code Gregor50. That's code Gregor50 for an exclusive $50 free bet. Alberta wins with Play Alberta. Must be 18 plus to play. If you gamble, please use your game sense. PlayAlberta.ca.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
GMC's 0% event is on now. Get 0% financing on all remaining 2025 GMC models on limited terms. Like the 2025 Sierra 1500 Elevation Crew Cab at 0% financing for 84 months. The 2025 Terrain Elevation All-Wheel Drive at 0% financing for 60 months. And the 2025 Canyon at 0% financing for 36 months. No matter what you need, there's a GMC for you. Ask your GMC dealer for details.
When you've just got to get your wings on, bring it on to Game On. Game On is Sherwood Park's new home for game night and good times. Every hump day is Wing Wednesday, and you know you're going to need extra napkins. Get your wings done the way you like with classic or signature sauces, or try them with a dry rub. Just 69 cents each, 25 flavors to choose from. And while you're here for Wing Wednesdays, you can enjoy $4 sleeves of Tilt Lager. So fly the coop and come to Game On. Game On Kitchen, Sports Bar, Arcade, Baseline Road, Sherwood Park.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit Sports Encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
$14.40 for Wolf GMC Buick. Fallen is saving 0% financing on all 2025 Buick and GMC vehicles at wolfgmcbuick.com. This comes in. Tide, please quit saying, I don't blame the coach. All the blame goes to the coach so far, in my opinion. Begs the question if there is coordination between the GM and the coach. Also raises the question about big guys' patience for bringing in a rookie, bringing him along. They need to induce confidence in rookies. And over the years, I've not seen a whole lot of that. Dry is better than that compared to 97, in my opinion. Well, I don't blame the coach because, the coach is being asked to bring along two rookies, Savoy and Ike Howard. And they signed late. They signed Jack Roslovic. Now they got to figure out what to do with him too. Plus Trent Frederick, he's a new hire. They had him last year, but he wasn't 100%. They got Mangiapane. They're trying to find something that works. Oh, and by the way, Zach Hyman is out. And I mentioned earlier in the show, Leon Draisaitl has 1 5-on-5 goal. McDavid has 0. A year ago, after 6 games, it was 0 for Draisaitl, 1 for McDavid. And then they took off. So, ideally, and I think it would have been quite right for the coaching staff and management to think, okay, well, we'll get carried earlier by the McDavid Draisaitl. They'll score enough at 5-on-5 that we'll be fine. And honestly, they're 2-3-1. So let's not overreact here. It's not like the sky is falling. Historically that this is a baffling period of time where they're not scoring at 5-on-5. They're good at it. They're fantastic outscorers. When they're together, they're brilliant. And right now it's 1 goal for and 1 goal against. That's not terrible. It's just not what we would expect. Chances are it'll turn around, maybe in Ottawa, maybe later in the week, maybe next week, but it'll happen. And I think that's the key. Patience is the key. Wrote that in my Athletical article today because these guys score together. They just do. And, I asked Rachel about bad ice in New York State, and she said, yeah. It didn't look like the ice was very good at Madison Square Garden or New York or wherever New Jersey plays. Is it in New York or is it in New Jersey? I don't remember. And Detroit, Detroit's a good team. They didn't have. Do we have Jason? Okay. Joined now by Jason Krueger. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Al. Blaming the coach, no offense, the dumbest take I've heard.
Well, not my take, so you fill your hat.
I know it wasn't yours. But, your best players aren't playing very well, full stop. Everything else after that doesn't matter. The Oilers' puck management's atrocious. They're sitting in 29th place in turnovers. And guess who's got the most turnovers? Way more than last year. McDavid, Ekholm, some of their guys who have the puck the most. So their best players will play better. Blaming the coach to me is ridiculous. They can't score. Leon Draisaitl said it after the game. I'm not feeling it. And when your best guys are feeling it, it just makes it easier for everyone. I love his honesty. And he's got 4 goals. Now I know that, only 1's 5-on-5, but he still has 4 goals. And he's like, I'm not feeling it. Watch Leon Draisaitl how many times that he's come in the offensive zone and hasn't completed a pass. It's mind-blowing. Not only on giveaways, but the last game in Detroit, I think I counted 32, give or take. Might have missed a few or added one on what I would say are passes where the guy was skating in motion. He's got a teammate open and the pass is in their skates or the pass is too far ahead of him. Now, those ones don't even get classified as a giveaway because sometimes they maintain possession, but the forward's going up ice. He's got all the speed. Now he's got to slow down. He has to stop. And your chance is gone because now the other team has an extra half second or a second, 2 seconds to regroup. And so the coach can't hold their hand and pass the puck. Can't do it. So, the good news for Edmonton was the last 12 minutes in Detroit, it was like they woke up and was like, oh, we can complete a pass. We can skate. We can move our feet. And, that was entertaining. Now, there's no whistles, so that played a part in it. But, anybody trying to suggest this is the coach's fault, I'm sorry, but you got to grab a clue because that's not even close to an issue.
Well, I look at the forwards will fall into place once the top guys are scoring. And I thought it was going to be a tough chore for Knobloch before Roslovic got here. But Roslovic he can score goals. He's scored 20 in the NHL. So you got to have a look at him. And that means that, you've got Howard, you've got Savoy, you've got all of these guys. And that's not a coaching thing. I'm not being critical of the coach, but he has to evaluate these guys. So the line shuffles are frustrating. And I get why people are, why is Tomasic sitting? But, he'd had 5 games. Now you got to try somebody else. Noah Philp has played 3 games and scored 2 goals. Hell, I think you got to play him more. They're still finding out about this team 6 games in. Fair?
Oh yeah, and the reason they're moving around is because guys aren't doing anything. So that's like you think the coach, hey, you know what, guys, I'm just going to play the same line game after game after game and hope that it gets better. Like it's not like you have the one guys that have a lot of chemistry with McDavid and Draisaitl on, they're not doing anything together. So to me, I put this slow start solely on the players, and it's not an awful start. They win tonight or tomorrow night. They're 3-1. It's not the end of the world. It's kind of how they're losing games. New Jersey, I don't know if they generated anything really in that game. And up until the last 10 minutes of Detroit, when Edmonton's playing their game, they will have shift after shift after shift sometimes where they've got the momentum. And even if you don't score, the other team's on their heels and you feel like momentum's on your side, and then it can last the whole period. Well, that just hasn't happened. Like, I don't know if McDavid's brought you out of your seat once. No. In 6 games yet, right? And Draisaitl hasn't had one or a few of those passes that he does every game that makes you go, oh wow, and that totally changes the tone of the game. And so Edmonton's is one where to me and the other thing is, rightly or wrongly, teams who lose the Stanley Cup Final struggle in their first 10 games. The Oilers can talk all they want about a good start, and they wanted a good start, and I understand why they want a good start, but they don't look emotionally into games at the level that they're used to. Maybe it's a hangover. I don't know what the emotional thing is for them. We saw this last year. It was 0-3, and then they kind of woke up. So now Ottawa is a team that doesn't have Tkachuk, and they're kind of floundering. Their goaltending's playing terrible, so that's maybe a good thing for Edmonton. Now, Ottawa leads the league in 5 goals against per game. So my goodness, if there was ever a game where you could score, you would hope if you're Edmonton that it's against Ottawa. And getting Jake Wallman back will help, because when you got Stetcher and Emerson on your right side, like neither one of them really moves the puck overly well. So that's not ideal. And you just got a lot of guys who just, from the top players down, there's just been the managing of the puck has been atrocious in 6 games for me. Like outside of the Vancouver game was the one game, man, they moved the puck around. Demko played unreal. That they probably could have 5 or 6 goals.
Yes.
But other than that game, I haven't seen very good puck management up and down the lineup. To try to want to pick out one defenseman or one forward, no. There's not many guys I would say, wow, they played really well. And I know people like the rookies. They're like, I haven't seen Ike Howard do anything that makes me go, oh my God, this guy deserves way more ice time. And Matt Savoy looks quick and everything, but he again, hasn't stood out and been like, oh my goodness, like can't do it. So to me, it's like the one guy who's played pretty well is Nugent Hopkins. I would probably say he's probably been their best forward.
Do you think number 1 and 2 in the league, including all game states, are McDavid and Draisaitl in ice time 24 minutes per night, or 23:32 for McDavid, 22:53 for Leon, so 23 minutes each a night? Could they back off because they played so much hockey the last 2 years, or is that something you don't agree with?
I don't know if they're elite level players. I don't know if their conditioning is going to be that much of an issue. I think sometimes when you're fighting it, the thing is, hey, just let them play their way out of it. So, McDavid's cardio has never been an issue to me. I think, you could tell at times Leon just, hasn't been feeling it, and he wears his emotions on his sleeve, so you can always tell when he's frustrated. It's pretty obvious to tell. So, I don't like winning games a lot, Al. So. I'd like to look. I know they played overtime, so that plays a small part in it. And they probably played like 2.5 minutes each in that overtime. Yeah. So I would think if we looked at what was their ice time up until the final 5 minutes of a game when they were trailing, right? And then because they had the one shift where the one game I think they were out for 3 straight minutes. So there's certain things that will impact that a little bit. But I'd have no problem at some point if the coach is like, hey, you know what? And it's not like McDavid and Draisaitl have made egregious errors. So you can't really sit them down. Like last year, remember Knobloch? Hey, he benched Leon Draisaitl in the 4th game of the season, right? It was only for 10 minutes, but it was still, hey, you can't keep taking undisciplined penalties. So you can do it. And I think as guys get healthier and you have Wallman and Hyman back, and if by chance, and that's a long ways away, if by chance all those funks are still happening, then yeah, I think a coach could send a message to his top end guys. But right now it's more so like they're just fighting it. So the coach is like, you know what? Most of these guys, he probably talks to them. Do you want to play your way out of it? Yeah, I want to play my way out of it. And usually you're gonna listen to your best players.
Jays Mariners tonight. I love Game 7s. It doesn't matter what sport. Baseball is fabulous in October. This is going to be the entire nation is talking about it. What a great event. What a great game it'll be tonight in Toronto.
The thing about baseball playoffs, Al, that I've recognized as I watch them is like when you watch a hockey game, like not every pass is a potential scoring of a goal. Right, like there's times where okay, offense, defense, and it's nerve-wracking in the playoffs for sure for fans. But like in baseball, every at bat can be a home run now. Every one, right? Every swing and every pitch, and it's just like so. I could see like diehard fans in baseball. Like you're probably spent after certain games, unless it's a blowout, right? But even when it's like look at the Jays the last game. So they're up. And, bases loaded, 1 out. And you're thinking, oh, my God, they're going to score a run here. Geez, maybe a sac fly, double play. And you're like, oh, relief. Then the next inning, the exact same thing, double play. And then the next inning, only a runner on first, but still a double play. Like it was wild, how they got to get out of it. Savage inducing ground balls at a key time. Great defense by the Jays. Like if you looked at the Jays fielders in the first up until they, when they brought Straw in, every defensive player, because Barger was out, but there was a time where everybody in the field, because Straw was in for Barger, who played very well, by the way, and the only guy who had never won a Gold Glove was Lucas. Every other guy has won a Gold Glove or been nominated for a Gold Glove, which is pretty impressive. And you saw a lot, like the Jays' defense in this series, Al, has been much better than Seattle's, and that in a Game 7 where that every run matters more and everything's magnified more, and there's maybe a little bit more stress. That could be a difference. And, Seattle just, what did they make? 3 errors yesterday in that game. And the Jays, Barger's home run and everything, but it started with an error. And that just allowed Ernie Clement that what should have been probably a double play, never mind just an error. And it turns out having nobody out, runners on first and second, they scored 2 runs. And that really changed the outcome of the game.
Yeah, it's true. We forget about it. Our mind allows us to forget about the defense, but the defense saves runs, and they often are key elements. And the Jays really do have a good defense. Quick note on the Elks. They got they're playing this week, obviously, but that was a tough loss. But I have to say that for me, when they got going this year, that's the best I've seen the Elks for an extended period in some years.
Yeah, it was really just a tough third quarter, right? It's 10-10. You're coming out of the half. You stop BC, who had possession right out of the half. You stop them. Okay, great. And then Fajardo throws a pick 6, and that's not good. And then, Rourke has that unreal run for a touchdown. Is like, what was it, 70 yards for a QB? Like, you don't see that very often. And it was kind of like game over in a span of 10 minutes. It went from being a super tight game to boom, and you're kind of out of it. They did score the 1 touchdown to maybe make it a little bit closer at the time. But yeah, it's too bad the third quarter. But you know what? There's lots of signs for the Elks. There's lots of continuity coming.
I think we lost him. Get him back. I was talking about Nathan Rourke. It was a hell of a run. 70 yards. 37-24. Final score. And now we wait. I think there's one thing left in the CFL, and that's who's the crossover, because you got Calgary and Winnipeg. Probably going to be Winnipeg. We're talking also about the Jays game. I think the team that has to go to the bullpen first probably loses. That'll be my guess. And you're trying to keep it under 4. Like Gilbert gave up the 5th run on the Vladdy home run. I think my memory's right. And that's all she wrote. He was out after, because you don't want to give they've got enough offense, Seattle does, to come back from, you can score 4 runs between the 5th and the 8th inning or 9th inning. But you get to 5 and now it's a little bit out of sight. And then you have to make the decision. Do you want Gilbert to, just pitch so you've got everybody available for game 7? Because by the time Vladdy hit the home run to go up 5 Cobb, I think management on the other side is probably thinking, well, we're going to play another game. Did we get Jason back? No. All right.
So the phones are not letting us dial out right now, actually, funny enough. So we did drop. Phones aren't letting us dial out. I'm just texting him right now, seeing if he'll call in so we can get him on that way.
Wow. So what did Josh do? What? You put up 1 finger. Did you put up 2? I'm not sure. Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. It was very sudden, and it did feel like it was like a drop. Lowetide is a guy who's just jumping on the bandwagon with the Jays the last 7 games. What is something that I should be watching for tonight? That's from Lance. I would watch, what Yasavage did on Julio, the first hitter, the leadoff hitter last night, is he threw really good fastballs inside. There were fastballs, so Julio's going to swing at a fastball, but they were inside, and he couldn't get around on it. And they ended up, he did that. That's how he was getting, like, he's got this pitch that is just amazing. It's difficult to hit. And he went inside on Julio on the fastball, and it was tough to get. All right. We've got Jason Krueger back. So we're talking about the Elks, I believe, and what was going on there. If you can pick up the conversation.
Yeah, I just think, it's tough third quarter, but there's lots of continuity coming for Edmonton. Rankin's back. A lot of their key guys are back. They were a young team. You're not going to see the significant turnover that we've seen the last few years. Chris Morris outlined that at the start of the season. So did Ed Hervey, that they want to build some continuity, right? Like, you look at Winnipeg, went to 5 consecutive Grey Cups because they built, and they didn't move. Of course, you're going to have some movement, right? But it's not going to be wholesale changes that's happened every year over the last few seasons from coaches. Now, there might be the odd coaching change for sure, but you're not going to have, 3, 4, 5 coaches that are different. You're not going to have a massive change. You might have one different offensive lineman. You know what? The D lineman, they'll have some decisions there because you have some veteran guys who made big money and, we're dealing with injuries. And they're like, I don't know how much Ceresna has back. Like, do you want to risk that, or do you go with some guys you have and maybe they bring in one other, interior D lineman? And, I think their secondary is pretty good. Look at their linebacking core.
Yeah.
Like, they'll have some interesting decisions there. Because when Anderson and Morgan went down, their linebacking core didn't get any worse, right? Joel DeBlanco played great, right? Even Morganson, I thought, was very good for a rookie. So they've got lots of pieces to build around. I think they'd like to get a better playmaking wide receiver. I think that would be something to look for. I know they're really high on Victor internally. They think he might be the guy moving forward, right? He learned the league this year, so he's somebody to watch for next season. And then obviously quarterback play is going to be, a question like, what are they going to do there? Cody Fajardo, do you keep trying to develop Trey Ford? Do you move on from that? That'll be probably the biggest story of the offseason, I would think.
All right. What's coming up on the show today, Jason?
Well, we're going to talk a lot of Game 7 because, like you, fired up. How can you not be? It should be awesome. The NFL, just when you think some things change, Al, some things stay the same. So we'll talk about that. There's 2 big games on Monday Night Football. Obviously, the Oilers are getting set up, and Jake Wallman coming back, that'll be a huge boost for them on the back end. And we'll talk about what type of matchups, what works for Edmonton, and really at the end of the day, Al, I think this just comes down to their best guys need to be better, and eventually they will be. But sooner than later would be better for them.
There you go. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
There you go. I had not mentioned the Chiefs, and I bet he does sometime in the first segment coming up on the Jason Krueger Show. All right, it's 1:40. We'll take a break. Declinations, Mama MMA, straight ahead. Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 and YouTube.
Fall in the savings at Wolf GMC Buick. For a very limited time, get 0% on every 2025 Buick and GMC, including the all-new Buick Envista, the Encore, Envision, and Enclave. For the GMCs, 0% on 2025s like the Sierra Half Ton, Sierra HD, even the Yukons. Get 0% on all 2025s. Plus, get up to 84 months on the GMC Sierra Half Ton Crew Cab. But like the leaves, these deals won't last long. Get into Wolf GMC Buick now. Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
No fluff, no fillers, just pure entertainment. Sports 1440 brings the heat with bold opinions, big personalities, and Edmonton's fiercest fans. This is your turf. This is Edmonton's sports leader, Sports 1440.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Sure, your couch is comfortable, but watching the game is always better and on the rocks. With crystal clear TVs, you won't miss a single play, and the specials are a major league win. Pre-game warm-up starts with specials 30 minutes before the puck drops. Get 69-cent wings and $5.75 Molson Canadian and Coors Light drafts, and play score and win every game for your chance to win big. Be part of the action this hockey season. See the menu online at ontherocksyeg.com.
Diablo Boots sells only Canadian-made work and biker boots made by Canada West. No American or boots made in China, so no tariffs. All of Diablo's boots have replaceable soles and heels for longer life. Sizes 6 to 14 Triple E. Buy quality, buy Canadian. And support Canada West and Diablo, the 2 best names in the boot business. So save on boots by Save On Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. Buy Canadian. They're terrific.
At jackpotcity.net, you can do amazing things with just one casino chip. Discover a world of incredible casino games with over 500 high-quality online slot games, including the world-renowned progressive jackpot slot Mega Moolah. Play for free at jackpotcity.net and get treated as a VIP 24/7. So visit jackpotcity.net today on your tablet, laptop, or mobile. Jackpot City, a whole world of casino games. 18 plus. Please play responsibly. This is not a gambling website.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440. Can you fit Sports Encyclopedia on a business card?
Presented by Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy. WolfGMCBuick.com.
The Lowdown with Lowetide on Sports 1440 is presented by Wolf GMC Buick. Check them out at wolfgmcbuick.com. 143. It's Declinations time, presented by Elks Nation. Check out the new website, elksnation.ca. Articles, podcasts, and more breaking news from the green and gold. The most in-depth EE football coverage available online, elksnation.ca. One of the stars of that site and the stars of this show, Declan Krueger, joins us now for Declinations. How are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. Excited to get into some Mama MMA. What a beautiful sport.
It truly is.
You know, some people don't like it. Some people think it's a little too human cockfighting-esque. I disagree. I think it combines a bunch of beautiful disciplines of martial arts. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, Muay Thai, boxing.
Choking. Yeah, it's good.
That's part of the jiu-jitsu. Listen, to be you don't have to be world class in every discipline.
Right.
But you have to be at least, world class or world class adjacent in one of the disciplines to make it to the highest level. And you have to be pretty well credentialed in the others as well to find success. And that's something that's wildly impressive.
Well, and also, I mean, as somebody who grew up on boxing, I see the appeal. It's mano a mano. You are thinking on your feet. You are defending, but you can't just defend. You have to be aggressive, and all of those things. Like I one of the things I love about fighting or loved about boxing, I'm sure is true in MMA, is that it is a thinking man's sport. There is a science to it, and those who don't understand that, I think they must just think it's just two guys beating the hell out of each other. But there is strategy involved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in mixed martial arts, when styles make fights, and when certain disciplines that one guy might be a specialist in, and his opponent may, not specialize in that area, but his opponent specializes in another area, and you don't specialize in that. Like it does make it quite a fun kind of chess game in sorts of that. Like it's absolutely a thinking man's game. I think like boxing deservedly is the sweet science. I think mixed martial arts has a little bit more. It definitely is a little more human cockfighting-y than boxing is, but there's still absolutely a rhythm and a game plan behind things. Yeah, UFC Vancouver this past weekend. So Renier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen was the main event in this one. And de Ridder was a guy who he was supposed to fight Anthony Hernandez in kind of a middleweight title elimination of sorts. Like the winner of that probably goes on to fight new middleweight champion Hamzat Chimaev, but Anthony Hernandez has to pull out of the bout. So they go with a guy in Brendan Allen. And Brendan Allen's a guy who's been in the top 10, and he's a guy who has fought some really tough guys, but he was 1-2 in his last 3. And his 2 losses were to Nasruddin Imavov and Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez obviously was supposed to be in this main event. Nasruddin Imavov, a guy who is also pegged to potentially fight for the middleweight title. And Brendan Allen was a guy who I think was he was coming into this one pretty heavy underdog. He, like I said, was 1-2 in the last 3 against 2 guys who had a real claim to fight for the title. And I think a lot of people kind of thought of it as a showcase performance for Renier de Ridder, who had been incredibly active. He had been a guy since coming in to the UFC in November 9th of last year, November 9th of 2024. This was his 5th fight. So, essentially it's like 5 fights in under a year, and obviously stepping up in competition each time kind of along the way. Had beaten Robert Whittaker his last time out. I think a lot of people viewed this as a showcase spot for him, but as it goes, Brendan Allen dominates the fight, and the corner stops it for Renier de Ridder after the 4th round. And corner stoppages are like throwing in the towel. That's not something you really see in MMA. I actually think it's something you should see far more, but it's not something you see as much. Like corners are a lot less willing to throw in the towel than in boxing, because in boxing, like boxing is the sport of punching.
Yeah.
And if you're getting beaten up, well,
your brain's rattling around.
Well, but it's not, that is obviously a huge part of it. But if you're getting beat up in boxing, it's like you have to box that guy who's beating you up to beat him. Now, obviously one punch can change the fight, and there's always that aspect of a combat sport. But in mixed martial arts, like if you're getting beat up on the feet, maybe you can take the fight to the ground. If you're getting beat up on the ground,
I see what
maybe you can keep the fight standing. Like if you're getting beat up in the clinch, maybe you can keep your back off the cage and avoid the clinch, things like that, right? So it's a little less common because there are more avenues for parity between opponents. So kind of what I talked about, in the opening there. But de Ridder goes out there, gets dominated, his corner stops the fight, and Brendan Allen all of a sudden is a guy who has kind of shot his name back into the middleweight title picture. De Ridder was fighting a rigorous schedule. Like I said, this was his 5th fight in 12 months. That is a really tough schedule for any combat athlete, let alone fighting in the UFC and fighting in a grueling division in the UFC, and fighting up in competition each fight. But Brendan Allen, like he has those 2 losses to Nasruddin Imavov and Anthony Hernandez. Nasruddin Imavov was a little over a year ago, and Anthony Hernandez was like 8 months ago. And I hope when the UFC rankings come out later, I hope they don't take this and just flip and just jump Brendan Allen to the front of the queue because of what he did. And what he did was impressive, but maybe he did it against a guy who was fighting on a rigorous schedule. Maybe he did it against a guy who was a touch overranked. And does he deserve to be ahead of the queue? Does he deserve to be there ahead of Anthony Hernandez and Nasruddin Imavov, who he lost to both basically within the span of the year? I say probably not, but the UFC rankings, they do kind of have a tendency to do that. Like when some guy, fills in on a spot, when some guy comes in and maybe, comes in and maybe, shouldn't have been in the spot or didn't like deserve the spot, but wins, and then he gets like, it's something the UFC rankings do that I don't really appreciate it. I hope they don't do it in this case for Brendan Allen. And it was an impressive win. It was big time because De Ridder had a lot of hype, but it's something I want to look for. Like Anthony Hernandez, even though he had to pull out of this one, or Nasruddin Imavov should be the next two in line. Then maybe even one more for Brendan Allen because he's only 2-2 in his last 4. But like I said, very impressive performance. Also worth shouting out, 4 of the Canadians on the main card won on this one, which is, great for Canadian MMA. Mike Malott beat Kevin Holland in the co-main event. Kevin Holland, exciting fan favorite. He fought kind of the who's who fighter. Mike Malott was a guy who's a young up-and-coming welterweight, I should say, had a lot of hype, and then he did drop about to Neil Magny, who was the gatekeeper of gatekeepers. That backtracked him a little bit. Had a good unanimous decision win here. Eamon Zahabi fought Chito Vera, a guy who's again fought the who's who at bantamweight, has been one of the, has been kind of turned into a fan favorite fighter himself. Eamon Zahabi went out there and beat him. Charles Jourdain and Kyle Nelson, 2 other Canadians, they went out there and they won their bouts. Charles Jourdain won it via stoppage, flying knee into a guillotine. It was a great night for Canadians on that main card, and I'm glad for a card that was in Canada that some of these, Canadian mixed martial artists got to showcase their stuff in front of the home crowd.
And that was it?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice little recap of UFC Vancouver.
Can I read this and ask you the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Lance. Declan, I don't know if you watch or care for anime, but on Netflix, there's a boxing anime called Hajime no Hopi. I don't know. I've been watching, which is really good. I'm now 100% into boxing because of it. I learned so much about it from the sport from it. Are you a big anime guy?
No, not a big anime guy. I wouldn't mind getting into like Avatar or, I don't know, Death Note. Is that one? Yeah, I wouldn't. Those seem kind of cool. It seems like a big commitment with how many episodes they're putting out. But listen, if there's one that's built around boxing, that's pretty cool. That could be something I get into. And to Lance's text, like, I'm very glad, you're getting in, like, you became a fan of boxing one way or the other.
And
like,
also,
that's awesome to hear.
It's boxing, and I'm sure MMA, although I'm not as familiar with it, boxing is really interesting, and the lore and the history of boxing is fantastic. If you like stories about great fights and really, in a way, and I'm getting out on a tangent here, nobody's going to agree with me, but in a way, boxing over the last 150 years has at times been pressure points and pinnacles for like political differences and rivalries and racial issues and all kinds of things. Boxing is a because it's such an event. When a big boxing match happens, it's a massive thing. And because of that, it brings a lot more into it than just boxing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, you talk about, some of the political undertones, like one of the biggest fights ever, Joe Louis versus Max Schmeling.
Exactly what I was thinking about.
Some of the racial undertones, like Jerry Cooney versus Larry Holmes.
Yeah.
Jerry Cooney was the Great White Hope, and Larry Holmes went and smacked him around. Like a big one has kind of been some of the, like when you see some, Mexican Americans versus Mexicans, there's kind of a, like, who's the true Mexican fighter? Like there's that element of it as well. Like Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar De La Hoya, Gennaro Hernandez when they fought. So yeah, there's that, the history of it. And there are some like really, really proud fighting nations as well.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's really cool. So
and
great
style
history.
too. Ali Frazier, there was a lot of, Ali was quite cruel to Frazier. Leading up to that fight, and just in terms of style and in terms of how he approached things, man, if you get into boxing, it's a world that is just, I think, fascinating and always have. Yeah, I love talking about. We should do a boxing segment.
This is kind of a boxing thing.
Kind of. All right.
No one should box though. Do the training. Don't actually box.
Yeah, and make sure Declan agrees to that before you do anything. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Jason Krueger on the way. Please enjoy your day.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Brought to you by Loca Quality Market. Your fridge just got an upgrade. Over 200 chef-prepared gourmet meals waiting at Loca Quality Market. Shop local at loca.ca. MLB action tonight. Game 7 of the ALCS. Jays and Mariners. 6:10 first pitch for that one out in Toronto. It's going to be Shane Bieber and George Kirby on the mound for the clubs. In the NHL, 5 games, Wild and Rangers and Kraken and Flyers kicking off the action at 5. Other games will include Buffalo and Montreal, Winnipeg and Calgary, and Carolina and Vegas. Monday night football in the NFL, 2 games, Bucks and Lions at 5, then Texans and Seattle at 8. And in the sporting world, Jason Moss and Danny Machocha have been extended for 2 years by the Montreal Alouettes today. And in the NBA, Christian Brown signing a 5-year, $125 million extension with the Denver Nuggets, and Dyson Daniels a 4-year, $100 million extension with the Hawks. That's going to do it for us here on the Lowdown. Up next is the Jason Krueger Show with Connor Halley. I'm Declan Krueger, and this has been a Sports 1440.